I don't know if you guys just heard that. The radio dispatch said that somebody's riding up and down the street, shooting a rifle outside of a car. Wild stuff.
They are going to ramp up, and then tomorrow is just going to be an all-out. You know, today was just like a burning of the town. I mean, look at the distance, man. Everything is on fire. Look at that shot, man. I'm Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com. This is the hours after the announcement that Darren Wilson was not going to be indicted. As you can see, buildings on West Florissant are just up in flames. There have been shots all night, just people shooting off guns from the crowd. I mean, from where I am right now, I can feel the heat coming from that building as it burns to the ground. This has been a crazy night. This far surpasses the chaos that happened in August. I mean, we've been hearing it in chants and stuff. We're going to burn this place down, but God almighty, I never thought it was going to happen. We're going to come back tomorrow and check it out so you can see the severity of the damage and what's been happening. You know, the National Guard is here. There's a bunch of Humvees over this way. I've seen almost 1,000 police officers on the ground, and we saw a large force in front of the police department earlier. But now, for some reason, in this area where, you know, it's hit the fan completely, the police force was much less in this area. And overall, this has just been a crazy experience, man. So continue watching our reports on Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com.
Okay, that was a report, a compilation of what Joe Biggs and Jakari Jackson shot last night in Ferguson. They're going to be joining us in a little bit live again, telling us what's going on there now. Again, that was a compilation footage. They were there for many, many hours last night, shooting and then later editing that. Some really remarkable footage, Leanne.
Absolutely. And, it was just a few hours that all took place.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
By the time we were, I guess we clocked out about midnight last night and things were still going on. But, I mean, that escalated really quickly. Do you think they could have done something different?
Well, again, a lot of people questioned why the announcement at 8 o'clock. And again, one of the places where they had a lot of people who were tweeting about that, who lived in the area, who remembered what happened 3 months ago in August when they had the riots. This is from the Riverfront Times. After promises of advance notice, nighttime release of grand jury decision stuns St. Louis. And if you look at, if they can pull up this article and look at some of these tweets, first one says, who thought announcing the decision at night was a good thing? As they point out in this article, they said when the St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office announced that he'd released the decision at 8 p.m., St. Louis balked. Why so late? Why release it at the time that protesters had typically started gathering in front of the Ferguson police station? And I think we need to make it clear, too, that so many news media are saying, look at the protesters burned down the city. No, the protesters didn't burn down the city. Rioters burned down the city. Looters looted the store. The protesters are defined by their actions. And, quite frankly, these are very, very different types of people. People who are going to go out there and protest on a regular basis the injustices in the system for 3 months. These are people who are very patient. They're very quiet. They are identified with the community. They're trying to do something. Whereas the looters are basically just opportunists who are going out there in kind of a snatch and grab thing. It is absolutely, totally different. It's a way of, again, moving people into these two different groups. One of the ways that they do this, of course, Leanne, is a technique they call kettling, where they control crowds, okay, by moving people into a particular area gradually, or as we saw with our crew in Dallas with the JFK Memorial, the 50th year memorial, they told everybody, come into this area, then they attacked everybody in that area. Or just a couple of days ago, as Joe Biggs told us, they told everybody, don't get into the street, you'll be arrested. Meanwhile, while they're staying on the sidewalk, they have a group of police go back behind them and start pushing them into the street. So they do things like that physically. Yeah, they try to physically control the crowd. They try to contain them into a group, surround them. That's called kettling. And what they're doing with this narrative is really a kind of kettling. What they're doing is they're trying to contain us by breaking us into individual groups and tribes competing against each other so that we don't get any effective reform of the system. Even if they had found Darren Wilson innocent, would that have done anything if it was, or guilty, I should say, would that have done anything if they didn't have some kind of set reforms that they wanted? And I haven't seen any set demands from the protesters about what they would like to see happen in terms of reform.
Exactly, and it's not really going to change anything there if you just take down this one man and say, okay, we're going to go ahead and indict him, and you know, that's not going to change the whole system, which, you know, people are.
All right, now, what's up on here is this is a live shot right now from our reporters Joe Biggs and Jakari Jackson. This is what's going on in Ferguson right now. It seems to be kind of quiet. I want to go to a clip. We have a short clip from the mayor yesterday talking about how his request for National Guard assistance was ignored. Let's play that clip now.
He, declared a state of emergency almost a week ago and mobilized the National Guard. And then they were kept away at the crucial time while Ferguson burned.
Why were they kept away?
Now, my question is...
Do you know that to be a fact?
Well, we know that they were kept away because they did not come in and stop that from the get-go. They were deployed at other parts of the St. Louis region. In the city of St. Louis, Mayor Slay had them at a couple of different, a couple of dozen different locations, I'm told, maybe other parts of St. Louis County. Why were they not in there at the first sign of an overturned police car or a smashed police car window with a show of force that would have stopped this? And here's my question that the governor must answer. Is the reason that the National Guard was not in there because the Obama administration and the Holder Justice Department leaned on you to keep them out? I cannot imagine any other reason why the governor who mobilized the National Guard would not have them in there to stop this before it started.
Good question. Did the Holder Department of Justice not want them in there? We've seen Eric Holder use Fast and Furious, for example. The New York Times broke that information, that they used Fast and Furious as a false flag to attack the Second Amendment. They have spoken often about how they want to create a crisis that they can then use. The response of many people, as we see now, as they break people into different groups, many people are now saying, well, we need more of this type of militarized equipment to deal with these kind of riots. So maybe all these MRAPs and the military training of the police is not a bad thing. That is the trap. That is the rope-a-dope trap.
Yeah, that's what I think this whole thing is, like the Ferguson psyop, because obviously you have the National Guard. He says we've sent them out to specific areas that we determine were worth protecting, basically, and then you just allow this whole area to just descend into chaos.
Yes.
And not even the firefighters. Exactly. That's where they're going to purge, and not even the firefighters were worth coming out there and protecting. And then we have, you know, we saw 3 months ago what happened when the National Guard was deployed, and that made the whole world come together and say, what is happening in America? That is a police state. And everyone was like, we've got to do something about this. This is wrong. Everyone started looking into the 1033 program. States everywhere were like, whoa, we didn't know that was what was going to happen if we gave all of our police this militarized equipment. So this time around, they have the National Guard stand down, allow all of the chaos and the looting and the shooting and the burning and everything to take place. And then now tonight, they're going to have the National Guard come out and they'll be the heroes because they keep everything peaceful. But, you know, as you can see, when we have the live shot up, it seems like the peaceful protesters once again are out there, as they have been doing for 3 months, peacefully protesting and organizing. And, you know, I've heard other people mention this. I don't think it's the people of Ferguson burning down their own city. They're burning down their own businesses. They've been out there peacefully protesting. And when this was announced, when the decision was announced last night, you saw huge crowds of people disperse. A lot of them left. They, you know, they.
That's right. That's right.
It took a while for the people to get in there and start burning things down. And
yeah, to reinforce this, again, we just saw the mayor of Ferguson asking why was the National Guard told to stand down last night after they had picked 8 o'clock right as early as they could after it was dark to release that decision. Of course, the Missouri lieutenant governor is also asking the same thing. Let's play that clip here. Oh, okay, you played both of those. Okay, all right.
It's
Okay, let's go to the mayor. Sorry.
Fortunately, I know I've been on the phone in contact with the county executive's office. I know he has requested. Have requested the National Guard troops to come out from the command post to help restore order along the business district. We have not seen that. It's my understanding that the commanders out on the streets have requested this, and those calls have gone unheeded at this point. So at this point, unless we can get the current situation stabilized, right now it doesn't appear that there's any end in sight, and we need to have the governor step up, give us the resources that he's promised from the beginning. He stated that he would have a strong response, that the resources necessary would be provided. They have not been provided so far. We need that right now.
There we go. They're talking about how they need the National Guard. And of course, Leanne, this all begs the question as to could this have been brought down earlier? Now, of course, here in Austin, we had a shooting that a lot of people questioned. Again, it was a bank robbery. They were investigating the bank robbery. The bank was shut down. A black man shows up at the bank, and the police officer, I guess, shows his badge or does something that panics this guy, and he runs. Nobody understands to this day why he ran. The cop starts to chase him. He's being outrun. He commandeers a car. Anyway, he catches up to the fleeing man at a bridge, and as they go under the bridge, a struggle ensues, and the fleeing black man is shot in the back of the head. Now, they could have let him go, but I think it was very wise that the grand jury here in Austin indicted him so that they can have an open process to evaluate whether this is an excessive use of force. This is something that needs to be done in front of the people. And I think, going back to this, the reason that we're here isn't because they use the National Guard or they didn't use the National Guard. Certainly they have multiple times. They have alternated back and forth between provoking people by getting in their face, essentially beating their chest or their shields to kind of threaten people, or just completely pulling back. There's never anything in between, there's never a happy medium there. But before they get to that point, it's the system that people are really more concerned about than anything else. I think this case was a visceral case for people because they saw the body laying there for hours in the street, just laying there like a dead dog. They didn't do anything. And that really set people off. There's a pattern of this behavior that is going on across the country. It is disproportionately towards certain groups like homeless people, black people. So this is something where the system itself was really on trial. The system needed to show that it was operating honestly, above board. They needed to put their cards on the table. But instead, they chose to have a secretive grand jury trial and then release the results at the time that the riots have historically started, when people got frustrated.
And judging by the way that Brown's parents reacted and how the cameras were right there in their face catching their reaction, they weren't told ahead of time. I mean, how can you do that to a grieving family, to give them the news along with the rest of the world that this is what happened? I mean, and then the news cycle has been playing this on a loop, showing the stepfather's reaction, saying, burn it down, there while he's trying to console his wife who's passing out because she's so overcome. That's not fair. You can't judge how a person's emotions. They've been largely, constantly and consistently calling for peace. Let's do this the right way. And
this is essentially the system investigating itself and doing it secretly. We have seen this in every aspect of government. Now, are these live shots that we're seeing right here, fellas? Okay. So this is live right now from Ferguson. Is Joe Biggs or Jakari Jackson ready to talk to us at this point, or are they just shooting a B-roll?
You're Joe Biggs?
Okay.
All right.
Biggs, I'm standing right outside of the police station in Ferguson, as well as the fire department. As you can see, they have a large National Guard presence. They are lined up with shields. There are a few police officers that have been out here coordinating with the National Guard. Most are inside. They just went through a change and rotated out new National Guard people to take spots, and I guess they're going to rotate every so often. A large crowd of people over here just went up to the barricades, and as you can